Hey everyone, Barbara here and welcome back. In today's video I'm going to be creating this card using products from the April 2018 release, Piñata Die-namics and Pure Innocence Birthday Piñata stamp set in Die-namics. The Piñata is interactive and swings back and forth, and I'm going to show you how to use plain white tissue paper to create it. This card has a few steps and I'm going to be going through some of them pretty fast, so let's get started. First I'm going to stencil the sky background using Mini Cloud Edges Stencil and Blue Breeze Premium Dye ink. I use a sponge dauber for this, and there's no right or wrong way to do it. I just start laying down ink and move the stencil around to find the next area I want to apply ink to. Turning the stencil over gives you twice as many choices, so it's basically just what pleases you. I find it's a good idea to wipe the stencil off after each pass. If you don't, you run the risk of smearing that ink where you don't really want it. So as I mentioned, it's just a case of moving the stencil around, finding the right area or the area that you like, and then just sponging it in with the dauber or a sponge, whatever kind of sponge you like to use. I prefer the dauber because it's smaller. Here you see I've already die cut the Piñata Die-namics from colored cardstock. I'm using cement gray for the base, but the layers of paper are in a rainbow pattern bottom to top. Grape jelly, blue raspberry, sour apple, daffodil, orange zest, and ripe raspberry. I've also listed the colors in the supply list in the class PDF. I've also cut the pieces from white tissue paper. Plain, everyday tissue paper. The first thing I'm going to do is to adhere the two eyepieces together and set that aside so I don't lose them, as they're quite small. There, I feel better now. Next, I'm going to color the tissue paper with Copic markers. For the purple layer, I used V06. For the turquoise layer, I used BG05. For the green layer, yellow-green 25. For the yellow, Y18. For the orange, yellow-red 18. And for the pink, RV17. These are also listed on the supply list in the class PDF file. I'm coloring them on a paper towel to absorb excess ink and moving the pieces around on the paper towel. When they get wet, the ink can transfer from a craft sheet or blotter and muddy the colors. Be careful if ink gets on your fingers for the same reason. Using tweezers is a good idea if you think that might be a problem for you. It's important to be very gentle while coloring the tissue paper. It's fairly fragile normally, but when it's wet, it tears very easily. Happily, it dries fast, but do be careful with it until it does. So now I have all of my pieces colored, and I'm going to adhere the tissue paper to the cardstock pieces. It takes just a very small amount of liquid glue. Here I'm using Ranger Multimedium Matte because it dries clear. I'll match up the pieces and very gently adhere them. Again, this wets the tissue paper, so it's very fragile at this point too. I have a few areas that I missed on them, so I'm just adding the color with my Copic as I go, and it should dry quite fast. Okay, now I'm adhering the pieces to the base. As you see, they overlap the base just a little and overlap each other quite a bit. The first time you do this, I think it's a good idea to give it a trial run before adhering the layers to see how they lie. Once all the layers are in place, I'll adhere the eye and it's done. To add more realism and dimension, try to gently fluff the fringes up a bit, keeping in mind that the tissue paper can tear easily still. So as you can see, they do overlap the preceding layer. and the base. Now we have one more piece to do, actually two more with the tail, and it will be done except for the eye. I was brave there and added a little more color. Very gently kind of tease your fringe up so that it looks more realistic. And now the tail. And our sweet little piñata is done. Now I'm going to start assembling the card. I've adhered some hemp cord in the center of the piñata's back so that he can swing from the tree limb. I've also cut the slider channel using Circle Spinner Channels Die-namics and added the back layer of Grassy Fields Die-namics, which is about 1.5 inches tall. This helped me measure to determine the placement of the slider channel. Now I'm adhering the spin and slide disc to the back of the piñata with liquid glue, turning it face down and placing the card front on top, also face down, with the disc inside the channel. To create a stop to keep the disc in the channel, I cut a piece of white scrap cardstock 1 inch by 1.5 inches and I'm adhering it to the disc, centering it. It's a good idea to test now to make sure the disc will move easily in the channel. You don't want it to bind when you get it all put together, so a good test now is a great idea. Once it's all set, I will anchor the cord with the tree limb from Harvest Buddy's stamp set and Die-namics, which I've stamped and colored ahead of time and has foam tape on the back. Be sure to press this down firmly so the foam tape has complete contact with the card front and the hemp cord. Be sure to maintain enough slack so the piñata can swing freely. This may take some adjusting, so don't trim your cord until it's finished. Then you can trim it from the top close to the foam tape. If you don't have the channel dies, you can still attach the piñata to the tree limb and let it swing freely. Now I'm going to adhere the card front to the card base with foam tape. The space created by the foam tape is needed to allow the disc and stop to move freely. Next, I'm stamping the sentiment from Pure Innocence Birthday Piñata with Extreme Black Hybrid ink on another Grassy Fields Die-namics die cut about 1 inch tall. I always test place my sentiment before final stamping, and once it's complete, I will adhere it to the taller grass layer with foam tape. Now I'm going to adhere the candy that's flying from the piñata, again using multimedia matte adhesive. These are from Pure Innocence Birthday Piñata also, and I stamped and colored already to save time. When they're adhered, it's done, and your piñata is swinging by with birthday wishes for some lucky recipient. That's it for my video today. Thanks so much for watching, and I hope you enjoy it and will give this technique a try. Be sure to check out the other classes for this release, and have a great day.